Hey everyone, thanks for having me. So today, I'm going to be presenting on behalf of Nansen. So over at Nansen, I work on the research team. So for those who don't know who Nansen is, we're a data product, and essentially we try to abstract away some of the basic stuff with labels and attribution and kind of package them into a product. So my role is really kind of making use of the data, and yeah, seeing higher level trends from there. So today we'll try to drill down on what's going on chain and hopefully shed some light on the derivative space. So yeah, what's happening on chain? So here's a quick little agenda. Going into it, this is just like a strictly on-chain approach. We're mainly just going to cover EVM chains, so this is all powered by like Nansen queries, so we'll be taking advantage of our attribution and labeling, as well as a little regional classifier, which can actually show where a lot of these users are based, so in the real world. Some things at a high level we'll be looking at is, the where, what, and when. So where are users? What chains are they interacting on? What are they actually doing? Are they transacting? Are they buying NFTs? Are they bridging to L2s, et cetera? And like I said before, what regions is maybe driving this derivative growth? One thing to note is this isn't like actually tracking what's happening on these specific dexes. So for instance, if we're looking at DYDX v3, we're not looking at the actual trades executed each week, but more so everything up until you get to DYDX v3. So we'll be looking at that investor profile from an on-chain view. So we looked at the top 8 derivative protocols by volume on EVM chains, and we use the users, and from there we'll actually look at some growth metrics later on. But yeah, so where are we today? And our very common thing is look at DAUs. So here we look at a 30-day rolling average of users, so new users across all these EVM chains. So here you can actually see like quite a stark difference from 2020, the multi-chain world, or from just Ethereum only world to a very multi-chain world. And here you can see like quite a acceleration in new users. So yeah, everything from L2s and alternative L1s really, really growing exponentially, which has been really, really fun. Some key takeaways is all these users, a lot of them are moving to layer 2s and alternative L1s, and the address growth has actually like surpassed what we had in 2021, which is pretty awesome. And a lot of this has been driven by BNB chain, Polygon, and Ethereum in the last 30 days. So yeah, pretty cool to see. So for that, it wasn't looking at EOAs, it was just all addresses. So any address that has successfully sent a transaction for a given day. But next, we want to look at like EOAs. So we filtered out all contracts, entities, wash traders, et cetera. And after kind of doing that analysis, we hopefully left with what we think would be EOAs. And from there, we wanted to look at addresses grouped by their ETH balances. So we aggregated ETH balances across all of these chains here. So you'll see Ethereum, Arbitrum, Base, Polygon, Linea, and Optimism. And what you're seeing actually in this chart is all addresses, like EOAs, that are less than 1,000 ETH. And you're seeing their average transactions sent across all of these different chains since inception. So it's from the first activity of a given wallet. And you can really see this like huge acceleration across L2s. And even like growth in L1. So I think this is like quite a interesting chart, as you can kind of see chain preference as noted by like, when wallets have first started getting active. So I think that's a pretty interesting thing from 2022 onward. So interestingly enough, you'll see that in like April, that March 2023 time. After that, there was quite an exponential growth in L2 transactions. And that actually kind of lines up well with like the Arbitrum airdrop and stuff. So yeah, we've kind of just seen L2 season really continue to pick up. So yeah, like I said, like EOAs with less than 1,000 ETH are really moving to L2s. Like it's not just, it's really being done in practice. Polygon, Arbitrum, Base, and Optimism are the top ones accounting for that like account activity. And one thing to note is, like, I guess this is probably like, you could just assume this, but the less than 1 ETH crowd, we set like a lower bound, but they are a bit more inactive, mostly because it's probably like dust wallets and stuff, but that did skew the activity a little bit down, but in general, the higher up you go in terms of ETH balances, the more active they are. So we've seen this across all. Balances over 1,000 ETH though, the whales, they still tend to call Ethereum home base in terms of activity, but they also are moving to L2s, which is cool. So that was like the where are users, but what are they actually doing on chain? So this is actually interesting. We look at, again, EOAs here doing the same analysis we did before, but here we just look at Ethereum mainnet. And what we want to look at is actually what are users doing? Like why are new users coming and using a blockchain? And this is actually quite interesting. We look at the counterparty of the first transaction sent of these EOAs, and we look at the entity, and then we group them to a specific category. One is DeFi, other one's NFT, and then the other is scaling. So DeFi is things like DEXs, derivatives, et cetera, lending, NFTs, quite explanatory. And then scaling is anything like interoperability solutions, L2s, bridging, et cetera. And I think this is quite interesting because you can see in 2020 onward, like in 2020, there was a huge DeFi dominance, and then you can really see the NFT wave come in. So it really kind of shows like metas over time. So I think this is quite interesting as, one, you can see the NFTs boom through 2021 to 2022, but then the L2 mania and scaling stuff happening after into the summer of 2023 onward. But notably, DeFi kind of remains the cornerstone and key entry point for new users into crypto, which is interesting, at least by looking at ETH mainnet. So yeah, that's quite interesting. But what about derivative users? So again, like we said, we looked at like the top 8 protocols by volumes that are on EVM chains that we covered, and then we looked at the users, everything up until they get to the actual like DEX. So we're not looking at, again, like their activity, like their trading activity, but just getting there and then deriving those users and then looking at the growth. So this could be like something like depositing to DYDX v3, Hyperliquid, or making a trade on GMX. So what we did here, so again, this should only be treated as a representative sample. We look at the growth rate of addresses. And here we took a snapshot on January 1st, 2023 of addresses interacting with derivative DEXs. And from there, we looked at the percentage growth onward. And here you can see quite an exponential growth. So this is like a testament to, one, like all the new protocols launching, as well as like very, very large adoption, as it seems, as there's over a 20,000% growth in new addresses interacting with derivatives. So quite an astounding growth. I think we probably all pretty excited here about that. But yeah, anyway, so that's quite interesting. So another follow-up might be, where are these addresses like located? Like who's driving this growth, where in the world? And we use this regional classifier, essentially looking at addresses, wallet activity, and when they send transactions. And from there, we can actually group them into specific regions of where they might be. And we filtered it for ones with high conviction of where they are. And here we separate into APAC, Americas, and EMEA. And again, it's the same exact chart of the percentage growth from 2023. And here you can see like growth across all 3 categories, which is awesome, with the EMEA, Americas, and APAC in that order of growth. So yeah, quite exciting. Yeah, overall, the main key takeaway is DeFi remains the key entry point for why like new users are coming on chain. Derivative users have really grown exponentially, with EMEA being the lead, followed by Americas and APAC respectively. And for chain preference, the EOAs are really continuing to move to L2s and scaling solutions. So that's, yeah, definitely what we all like to see. And that is all. So thank you so much, guys. Yeah.
There's like a spike at the other chart. By any chance, what's going on with the left one?
Yeah, I would need to look specifically into that spike. I didn't actually. I'll get back to you after this.
Is it when the new year starts? Is that what it's going?
Yes. So so it just takes a static snapshot, and then from there it calculates the percentage growth or decline. So it's been pretty much up only. Yeah. But cool, if anyone has any questions, feel free. I'll be sitting in the back. I'll be here for the next like 30 minutes or so. And yeah, cheers, everyone.